This is the Smoke Break Therapy Podcast. A show where sits down with the fam to discuss important topics while getting super deep into Pass the J.
4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
That's Obama for you.
Yeah.
I'm a big Obama fan.
At first I was like, I recognize that voice. But who
It takes just a second. Okay, so first question though.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to be anonymous or not?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's cool.
I mean, if you want to give me a cool alias, you can.
Oh, I've done it before. I had two nurses on one time. One was A Swizzle and the other was O Dizzle.
Wow.
Yeah. Creative, you know.
Very.
Yeah. Stoners. What could you do? Actually, one didn't even smoke. It was ironic.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone smokes who comes on. Actually, we just did an episode. Well, it's not out yet, but next week's episode will be with a sober person who's been sober for like 36 years.
Nice.
I actually didn't get high on that episode. It was weird. Weird feeling for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I usually only do this when I'm super baked. So, I know that last time I saw you, you had a bunch of cool stories. I don't know if you want to... We can go in a million directions. This show is literally just about getting high and talking about cool, true stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know you had a podcast, but I also was like, am I supposed to have like a script ready or something?
No.
Am I supposed
Honestly,
to know what I'm talking about?
We offer, cannabis, and then we say, hey, what do you got? Like, honestly, it usually ends up being ghost stuff, because I was always fascinated with ghosts, and, and then that turned into some dead people stories, where, like, my father tried to take over the podcast, and instead of talking about ghosts, he was like, no, how many people have you watched die?
Ooh.
And I was like, okay, that's not, I'm talking about, spiritual stuff, not, physical dead bodies.
It's a nice, cozy topic.
It is. Well, that's my father for you. But you know what's funny? I went to the dispensary today, and the lady actually asked how much. She goes, hey, how's your little friend? And I go, which one? And she's like, you came in here with an elderly fellow one time. And I go, oh, yeah, I was going to say old man. That's my father. Yeah. Oh, how's your little friend? I thought that was hilarious. Okay, so, honestly, I would be really interested in hearing nanny stories if you're interested.
Nannies, just in general, or like entitled parent stories?
We could, that's why, because like you can go in so many different directions with it.
Because I feel like that's what we were talking about last time.
I mean, yeah, that was how the main topic, yes. So, I mean, but we could also we've done more serious ones where like we've had... I don't know. You could talk about literally anything. You sounded like you had a lot of good stories. But the nanny one sounded entertaining. Just because of probably the people you worked for. So, I don't know.
So more about the parents and less about the children. Because I have fun kids.
Yeah. No, that's... see, we could split it, though. That's the thing. I'll be honest, the format is usually... I'll get baked with people for 4 to 6 hours, and then we just record the whole thing.
Right.
And then I chop that up into 15 to 30 minute episodes, or possibly an hour, depends. Why don't we do both? Why don't we do some kid and some nanny?
Okay.
All right, or a parent, rather, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's start with parent. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Then we can end on a lighter note with the...
Okay.
Yeah. So what's the worst parents you've ever had to nanny for?
It's hard to say because I'm trying to think. So the last two families that I worked for were both challenging in their own ways. Let's see. So the family that I worked for during the pandemic was especially hard because they were adjusting to being working from home, and there was a lot of micromanaging, but also a lot of stepping on my toes. And if I told a child you can't have cookies for breakfast, they might come in and just be like,
we don't use
you can just have cookies for breakfast, it's fine, even though I just said 2 seconds ago no. So but then back before the pandemic, it was a lot easier because parents weren't like up my ass all the time.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
I definitely think that I was happier as a nanny before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because it took away a lot of autonomy, which I enjoyed.
Is that, like, have you ever been in live-in nanny, or is it always
No,
been, okay.
God, no.
Yeah,
I could never.
is that like sound terrible?
Yeah.
I don't know. So, all right, what's your very worst actual parents? Like the specifically the or the worst parent experience?
I think that one of the craziest things that happened to me
That's a good one.
was with the last family, and it was like not crazy as in like abusive or anything like that, because I have read some stories where like the people that this person worked for were like,
Oh, really?
either like the husband was like sexually harassing this girl,
Oh, wow.
or like, you know, verbally being abusive and just crazy stuff like that. But for me, the craziest thing, I guess, wasn't really that crazy, but it still was just, I was just like surprised when they asked me to do this particular task. So like as a nanny, generally all of your tasks are like related to the child, like maybe doing the baby's laundry or like cleaning up after the baby or the kid or whatever. But usually like bigger household, like housekeeping type things aren't usually in your job description. Like doing the whole family's laundry or like scrubbing toilets is not usually something that
I get you.
a nanny should be doing. And generally, even if something is pertaining to the child, it's usually things that happen while you're there, like from 9 to 5 or whatever you work. You're not usually cleaning up, or you shouldn't be cleaning up messes
from the
the weekend or the night before. Like if a family is leaving,
that
like
sounds way worse than us.
it's very common in the nanny industry for a nanny to come in on Monday morning and have like a sink full of dishes and, you know, laundry piled up everywhere because parents just wait for the nanny to come in on Monday. But the family that I worked for, I worked 4 days a week, and the day that I didn't work, like, rotated out. So this particular week I had worked Monday through Thursday. So I came in, I think on that like the following Monday, and I came in and the parent, like not even the first thing in the morning, but like I think at the time the kids were still taking 2 naps during the day, and I think that they went down for their first nap around like 9:30 or 10, and at like 9:30 or 10 when they had gone down for nap and I was like starting to do, I think, laundry, the mother comes in and is like, hey, I'll give her a fake name, we'll say Katie pooped in the tub on Thursday while we were giving them a bath, and we just didn't get around to cleaning it. Could you clean that up for us?
Are you kidding me?
No. And I was just like, what? Like, first of all,
Oh my god.
asking someone else to do that is like crazy, but in and of itself, like, you just had shit in your bathtub
wouldn't
since
you
Thursday.
be embarrassed? Like, I would be so embarrassed.
And she was like, yeah, we haven't been able to give them a bath since Thursday because
I didn't even process that part. Like, honestly, like, there's poop in the tub. That's enough for me.
right, like, it was just wild that like that you just left it there. And it's like, I get it, like, parents are busy and like, you know, sometimes things happen or whatever, but like, you know, the girls went to bed at 7 p.m. and presumably you're probably going to bed maybe around 10ish. And in those 3 hours of downtime, like, what were you doing that you couldn't take 2 seconds to like scoop the poop out of
2 seconds.
Yeah.
2 seconds.
Yeah, and
Poop
spray
in
a
the
little bleach on it or something, you know, like,
Yeah, just make it a little hygienic.
yeah, just a little something, you know, and so I'm pretty sure that I like, my jaw must have literally been on the floor, and I did do it,
Rightfully
But-
so. Like,
but because I am a bit of a people pleaser, but realistically, you know, when you have a conversation and then later you're like going to bed that night and you're like, oh, I should have said this or I should have done that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a big one. I feel you're talking about a fucking weekend, like literally 3-4 days before. I'd lose my fucking mind. I'd literally lose that job too. I'd be like, no.
Yep,
No. You get what's his fucking name back here. You have him clean. I looked at the parent. You get your ass back here. You clean this up.
There was 2 full-grown adults in that house.
Are you sure they were adults?
Well,
I
then not only that, but they also had a very supportive family, which is great for them. But like, you couldn't have asked grandma to watch the kids for a minute while
What do you mean by
went.
supportive family? Yeah, was no one
Exactly.
asking. No one's able to clean shit. This brings me back to a good story of why I know how to change diapers so well.
Yeah.
No, well, I won't say so well. I've done a couple backwards. My bad. You know what he did? Fucking made me do it. So, I'm very familiar with how to change my siblings' diapers.
Right.
That sucks. What the fuck are they thinking? Like,
right?
honestly, I just
can't imagine just going into my bathroom to, like, use it and
that's
then
what
being
I'm like, you have to,
poop in there.
is it an everyday used bathroom? Like, is
so no. So this
they
is...
had so much money, they had a different bathroom.
Yeah, this family had multiple bathrooms in their home, and this was not one that they used very often. It was the laundry room, though. But, to be fair, they probably left the laundry for me.
That's disturbing. Alright, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Have you had... Okay, question. Has that happened multiple times? Or is that just one time that happened?
The poop that was just the one time.
Okay. Have you ever had that happen with different parents than that parent specifically?
No.
Like, is this a thing that nannies often deal with, or...
I would say probably... It would not surprise me that doesn't happen to other people. But no, that was the first time it happened to me.
Do you think it didn't happen again because... You laid down the law?
Well, I didn't lay down the law.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Like,
I think
what did you, like... I'm surprised they didn't ask you again.
I think that little Katie did me a solid and just didn't poop in the tub anymore. So
she's... Okay, yeah. She must have been... Like, I like this nanny. Let's keep this
yes.
one. That makes me think of how many babysitters I had to go through. I was a demon child. I was terrible.
I can't imagine that.
Oh. Anyway. Alright, so we got some good parent stories. How about some good kid stories? Sounds like that was a good kid, by the way. That one did you a solid. So yeah. That's a good kid story.
I think more like funny stories. So this actually isn't really my story, but I was like when it happened. So I had another family that I worked for where they had like really close friends that also had kids like around the same age as their kids, and they also had a nanny. And so we kind of became like nanny friends as
Do you have like nanny cliques? Is that like how that works?
There definitely are nanny cliques. It's interesting.
Okay.
I'm very much a people watcher, so when I'm out on the playground, I can usually pick out who's a parent and who's a nanny, and also like which nannies hang out together and which nannies like talk shit about the other nannies all of that.
Nanny gossip. That's gotta be good stuff.
Oh, it's good stuff. But yeah, we had another family that we hung out with a lot, and so we would have play dates, especially in winter when we couldn't be out and about and stuff. And so we were over at their house, and the little girl, or the other nanny, her name, will make her Sally. And Sally had just started a new relationship with a new guy, and her and the child's mom were chatting about what Sally was going to get this guy for his birthday. And they're like talking about it, and she's like, oh, we've only been dating for like a month or whatever, and I don't want to get anything too big or too fancy or, too much or whatever. And so the little girl chimes in and goes, you can just get him blue balls. And it goes like dead silent. Everyone is like trying not to laugh. And we're just like, what? What do you mean by that? And the little girl is just like, yeah, boys, they just really like blue balls. Like,
what?
Boys like balls. They are always playing basketball and football and baseball and
they must like the blue ones.
And
like, what?
Boys like the color blue. I'm a girl, I like pink. Boys like blue balls. Get him blue balls for his birthday.
Oh my God.
And like she was just so matter of fact about it, and we're all trying so hard not to laugh, and because she's being so sincere.
Yeah, don't you know? That's what I love about kids. They're so fucking sincere. Yeah. They like look at you and be like, fucking sky's falling. Are you not ready for this?
Yeah.
Like,
what do you mean you don't know what to get him? Just get him blue balls.
Oh my gosh. Wait, did you? Okay, so that's what it traced down to, though. That's why they like. I hope someone looked into this. Where did you learn this?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. She was 3, so to a 3-year-old, guys. My dad watches a lot of sports that involve balls. So
I get it. The other day I was walking my nephew around the area I live in, and he's walking around, and he apparently just recently is discovering the term penis. He's learning words, so he just discovered penis. Mm-hmm. But he's also in that phase where it's like he tests words on everything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know what I mean by that? Like he's like, all right, they said this is a penis.
Mm-hmm.
So my penis.
Mm-hmm.
You penis? Like that's
Right,
what he gets.
exactly,
He looks
yep.
at his mom. He's like, "You penis?"
Yep.
She's like, No,
Yeah.
me penis."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Dad penis." Well, Dad probably has a penis. Yeah, I'd say Dad penis, but Dad penis. Oh, like he's like, so we're walking in the parking lot, and he's just like, "My penis." Uncle penis? Like, hey, whoa. I'm just like walking around. I'm like, whose windows are open right now? Jesus Christ. No, stop, kid. Stop. And it's funny that, like, that's like a significant thing that people are so afraid of talking about, like, anatomy and stuff. It's like, I should not be worried about a fucking 2-year-old learning a word and then saying it in a parking lot, like, without people being like,
Yeah.
"Hey,
It's true.
what are you telling that kid?" What? But, in the counterpart, we were talking earlier about, I believe, like, not posting pictures of children online type shit. So, like, hey, there's just a...
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, can you say penis and not be...
Right.
Like, I don't know. I find that interesting. What's your take on talking to kids about that stuff? Like, when...
I definitely think, like, you should use the proper terminology. You shouldn't be like,
for sure.
my
Like
wee-wee, or...
anatomically correct terminology. Yes.
Yeah, I think it definitely is, like, too taboo. I mean, to an extent, I get why it is, like...
Can I preference this with... I can't speak. But I'm a sex educator on, like, a certain, like... population. Like, I'm trained as a sex educator, but what the fuck is that? Did the world just end? What the fuck was...
Oh,
It's a
boy.
good sound effect for that.
Yes.
Anyway, I have been trained in educating people about sex, and actually trained in educating their parents about educating them about sex, which is a weirder concept, if you ask me, because they don't want to. So, like, they definitely don't want to.
Right.
But, like, all right, I want to see. I like stuff that's not. I don't like the word triggering, but like that's stuff that people don't want to talk about. I guess is what. So, like, what's your take on maybe? What's the appropriate age to discuss the idea of trans people to kids? Because, like, I've actually gotten into verbal not that long ago with people about this, and, like, what they think, just because I'm a sex educator, so I feel like I might have a little bit more knowledge than a person who does not have any education. Like, I'm just calling them that's all. That's just, whatever. But what's your take on that?
I guess in general, like, the whole talking about, like, more taboo topics, I think, like, for my own children, should I have someday, I would definitely, like, use...
Well, that's actually something I'd like to mention, though. Like, do you have a different perspective on other people's children versus your own children? Because I did.
Kind of, because I feel like it should be talked about, and, like, with the children that I nanny, for example, like, I would always, like, use the proper terminology, like vulva or vagina or you know, whatever. But I also feel like it isn't my place to, like, educate someone else's child.
Yeah,
like, I don't want to, especially when
it's
it's, like, my job, like, I don't want to get fired because, you told my kid about the birds and the bees, and there is, like, an appropriate time and place, and, like...
I mean, but you do have, like, a responsibility. Not that I'm saying this responsibility for most kids, but talk to your parents about it. You know what I mean?
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, in my case, I'm generally working with children under the age of 5, and so I feel like you're not, like, sitting down to have, like, the sex talk when they're that young. But I think that, like, it's common when kids get, like, a younger sibling or something to be like, where did this kid come from? And
especially if they're different. Like, you know what I mean? You have a boy after a girl or a girl after...
Yeah, or like, Mom got this baby in her belly. How did that happen?
Right.
My mom told me that God put my baby sister in her belly. That's how
that's
that
like,
worked.
I feel like that's one of those storky
Yeah,
stories,
exactly.
You know?
So, I mean, I think that there's, like, a appropriate time, and I think that, like, a lot of people say how, like, you let them ask questions and just give kind of, like,
I mean, that is the appropriate response. Let them come to you. You don't always have to bring stuff to them, which is why it's honest. You know what I mean? Like, that was part of what I got into this person. Because I bring this up because, like, again, my father is a great example. Fucker. And then he went to jail. I was wrong. Like, I was wrong. He protected me. Okay. You know, like, that kind of shit. But, like, at the same time, I feel like that's just what people have to do, is have that progression. So like now we're talking about kids learning about this. Well, don't shoot it down. That's like saying, like, you have to accept the fact that they do, at least, and then progressively teach people about them. My issue is, why ignore the whole thing if you're not against what trans people are? You know what I mean?
Right. I feel like it's, people just don't want to have the hard conversation.
They don't.
Like, and that's part of
so
having
sad to me.
children.
It's like,
yeah, it is weird. I feel like it's more, again, to make the same comparison, it's sort of like, oh, you know, black people are great. Like, if you're, you know, when you're trying to teach, like, equality to children or talking about race and stuff, like, you can't just sugarcoat it and be like, oh, yeah, everything's great. Black people are equal, because in our society, they actually aren't being treated that way. And, like, systemic racism. And obviously, you're not going to be like, okay, little 3-year-old kid, like, let's talk about systemic racism today. You know, like, I mean, a lot of people don't know how to explain that well anyway, myself included. Yeah, but, like, you know, being able to, like, talk about those things with your kid and having an open discussion with it, even if you're not able to be like, well, this is, I mean, you can express your opinion. Unfortunately, some people are going to have the opinion that, like, being trans is wrong or whatever. Right.
But, like, if you don't feel that way, why get upset that kids are learning about it?
Exactly.
That's why I'm like, why are you so... Because there's, like, a whole group of people that feel that way. They're like, yeah, no, trans people are okay. Wait, you want to explain that to my child? Don't you fucking dare.
And
like,
who are these people that are explaining it to your children?
Yeah. Well, but even then, it's like, the subject comes up to the children. Like, right? If we live in a society where they're going to see some people that, like, you know, but they ask, hey, wasn't that... Or, like, I knew my Uncle Stu, and he was a guy when I knew him, and now he's my Auntie Sue. Like, I feel like if your child doesn't have, like, a trans person in the family, and I feel like their most common exposure other than that. But it's like, if your kid is out at the park or something, and they see, you know, someone that maybe, like, has long hair or whatever, but then they have, like, a deeper voice. Like, I could see, like, I feel like if the kid is then like, oh, like, why does he sound like a dude?
Yeah,
like,
is that a boy or a girl? And you don't have to, like, freak out and be like, oh my god, like, you can just be like, you don't have to, like, freak out and be like, oh my god, like, my kid's gonna be trans now because I saw a trans person at the park or something. Like, that's not how that works.
That is totally how people react. And honest to God, I've talked to some old fucking farts that are like, they have admittedly said, they're like, yeah, hey, how you doing, guy? And I'm like, hey, how you doing? And then they'll start talking, and they'll be like, yeah, man, you know, my cousin went to a gay bar the other day, and I was so scared when he came home, and I'm like, the fuck? The fuck did you just say? And they'll be like, you know, yeah, because, you know, you never know if he's going to catch it. And I'm like, are you guys for real? Like, I'm sitting here smoking my cigarette. I'm like, is this a real conversation? You guys are fucking with me, right? Like, I'm being pranked right now. I'm being punked right now. Like, this isn't real. And they're like, yeah. And then the guy will look at her and be like, yeah, oh, fucking so contagious these days. You can't go to a fucking this and that. And I'm like, no one can see me right now, but my eyes drop. I'm just like, is this really happening?
What did I walk into?
Yeah, no, but, like, I'm like, is this really happening? Because I've had multiple conversations with both of these people before. Never have they said, like, something like this, and then all of a sudden, we're, like, talking about how going to a gay bar is very contagious for your gay gene, or whatever the fuck it is. And I'm just like, but these people really believe it. Like, because, like, it's one thing if you're... There's a lot of people full of hate out there. They'll say shit like that just to be hateful. They understand it's not a medical disease to be like gay or something, but they'll spread the hate. These people believed it. I watched them, and that's when I really learned what misinformation was. Like, I just was like, they believe it. Like, they believe it fully with their hearts, and I'm like, but do you use your brain? Like,
I feel like some people are, like, magnets for that kind of people too. Like, I've had experiences too where I've, like, what about me makes it look like I would agree with you on that? Like, I was it's kind of a nanny adjacent story. I was on a walk with the kids that I was nannying at the time, and it's not uncommon for, like, you know, you have some cute babies in a stroller and little old ladies see them and they're like, oh my god, babies.
Oh, I've been there. I've been there.
And so they're all up, she's all up in our business and is just like, oh my god, they're so cute and blah, 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 and, like, is asking me their names and blah, 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 which is, like, all normal. So they were twins, so of course, like, especially it was like having a celebrity, like, so she came over and was just talking to me, and I forget, this was like over a year ago at this point, so I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but we were like talking about normal stuff, just like how old are they? Like, you know, are they sleeping through the night? Like normal things that people ask about children when they see them. And all of a sudden she's just like, yeah, you know, my mom had 4 kids and, she did it right. You know, she didn't work. Women's place should be in the home. And, she just went on this like tirade about how women these days, and she's like, yeah, like just basically like shitting on my career, basically saying like, oh, you know, women should raise their own kids. They shouldn't be hiring people like you to like raise their babies for them. And she just like kept going on and on.
Did she know you were?
No, this was randomly on the street. Just like, I'm just walking the baby.
Yeah.
And she's just like telling me all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, and you know, abortion really shouldn't be legal. Like people should just have babies. It's like, I'm just like, what about me makes me think that like I wanted to have this conversation? Then I'm going to be like, yeah, you're right. Like,
that's exactly how I felt. Like you very much captured that. Like because I can feel what exactly.
Yeah.
That's fucked up, man.
And of course,
like
I'm also
people unsolicited. It's just
I'm still such a people pleaser that I was just kind of sitting there like, how do I get out of this conversation? I'm like, I've got to go. The babies need to take a nap. I gotta go.
I'm so an anti people pleaser. I mean, that's not true. Sometimes I'm a little bit of an enabler, but I don't consider myself a people pleaser because like there'll be times where like for perfect example, the other day I went to an open house with my wife's mother, and the guy showing the house, the kid showing the house. Oh my god, it was like his first day at school. It was so adorable. And I just didn't have time for it. And he was like, he's at the door, he's got his papers, he's out.
Aww.
Hello? How are you? And my mother-in-law's very nice, so she immediately, you know her, she immediately is going to be like, oh, son, how are you? How are you, young man? And I'm like, is both units open? Like, can we get this show on the road? Let's go. He's like, hi, today's my first open house, and I'd like you to... Do you have a realtor? I go, yeah, it's Matt. He goes, Matt, what? Can we get the fucking show on the... Like, let's go. Let me in the house. And then he gives us, like, specific instructions. I'm not here to please your people. Get me out of here. I gotta look at your house. I'm either gonna buy it or not. Your neighbor sucks. I'm not buying it. Bye. And he's just like... Thank you so much for coming today, and please use the formal exit. And I'm like, shut the pleaser. But like she's gonna give the kid the time of day. I'm like, get out of my way.
That's my problem.
Get out of you stop for the guy. You're like, oh, your first day?
Yeah.
I'll sign in. Like let me sign your sheet. Oh boy. Yeah, so I'm a bad example of that. A huge part of the conversation on sex education was cut from this episode, but will soon be available on Patreon.
Oh, thank you.